wanted a close distance, 3 hours or less from home, that was close to a big city like Chicago, and I wanted it to be a private Christian school. Those were my parameters. And I found that. And looking back, I don't know why I cared about that. Yeah. I wish I would have gone south. Like, I truly do.
My big thing was I just wanted cornfields and a bunch of dudes.
Nailed it. Nailed it. Welcome to The Cover, where three Hoosier friends judge books by their covers and movies by their trailers.
That's right. I'm Brett, here with my fellow Indiana natives, Remington and Marcus, ready to dive into the stories that keep us up all night and occasionally put us to sleep.
Whether you're a bookworm, movie buff, or just here for the witty banter, we've got you covered.
Each week, we'll dissect a different book or movie, sharing fun facts, hot takes, and moments that make Marcus cry. Spoiler alert, we're not experts, but we're definitely opinionated.
From literary masterpieces to blockbuster flops, nothing is safe from our snarky reviews and wild tangents. Who knew Hoosiers could be this entertaining?
So grab your popcorn and reading glasses, because we're about to embark on a hilarious journey through the pages and screens that shape our lives. Or at least our weekends.
You're listening to The Cover. Let's get the show on the road before one of our kids wakes up.
It's what's funny.
I mostly just record the podcast so that I can listen to it. I was pulling into the neighborhood tonight, and there were a couple walking their dog, and I'm laughing hysterically. And I think if they knew that I was laughing at myself.
I've been guilty of that in the gym mostly. That's so funny.
I just don't even. I feel so.
That's like that Ice Cube. That's like that Ice Cube story. Ice Cube after Jonah Hill and Magic Mike Boy.
Channing
Tatum, not Vince Chittum, who's a mortgage lender on the south side of Indy. After they filmed 22 Jump Street.
Yeah.
They were on a plane, and the thing Jonah Hill kept saying is like, we can never make it. We never saw him laugh. He didn't think anything was funny. We could never make him laugh. But on a plane, they walked past him. He was laughing his butt off, and Jonah's like, I gotta see what he's laughing at. And they walked past him, and he was watching Friday, and he was laughing at himself.
So, did you know the "My name is Jeff" thing was totally out of the blue, not planned?
My name's Jeff.
Yeah, that was just Channing Tatum messing around.
And they put it
and they kept it, yeah.
Yeah. Some of the best movie lines.
So I had Karate Kid, I called Dodgeball Ref, was Karate Kid Ref.
Yeah, pretty impressive.
I think I've got, it's not as crazy, but there's another one in...
Hamilton?
Nope, it's in a movie I watched that has nothing to do with this show. Never mind. Dang it.
I'm just impressed that you remembered the movie that you watched wasn't for the show.
Well, I don't think he has.
No, I don't remember the name. I'm trying to remember what would I have watched. There's literally nothing.
I don't know. We've been we're on a 2-week slump right now.
We watched something. Oh, it's a show that Riley watches.
This is riveting.
Watson.
This is some good.
She started watching
Watson
podcast.
I can't do those shows. We've talked about this.
Yeah,
I can't do those.
I was reading
like the regular TV shows.
The regular corny,
especially
really
the
hard.
CBS's gotta rinse and repeat
storylines. I mean, there's a whole market for those people.
I put down my book and watched an episode with Riley, and I said, I hate this show, but I know it means a lot to you to watch it. And it was good. It was a good move.
That's his sister.
Did you say that?
That's a good move. Yes, I said it out loud, and she goes, "You get it." That's what she wanted.
Get it?
That's what she wanted.
Oh, man.
Watch my horrible show with me. I wouldn't say on the scale of those shows, it's not the worst, but on the scale of all shows, those shows are
pretty average.
Pretty average, yeah. However, The Rookie was entertaining. I like the dude on The Rookie. He was all right, but you'll have that. Mm-hmm. Welcome to the Cover Podcast. I'm your host, Brett Wiggins. As always, to my left is
Marcus Mangus.
How great. You are the beer runner of the show.
That's true.
And we're covering the greatest beer run ever.
Yeah.
Sitting to my right is Sir
Remington Ramsey.
We answer 9 questions every week about one of your favorite books or movies. Did you know that originally the podcast was going to be called 9 Questions or something like that? Remember?
I don't remember that.
It was like a year ago, bro.
It was the first folder that I created for the podcast. Good thing we changed that.
I really like our logo. I've spent a lot of money on the logo.
I do like the logo.
Was that a...
I got a new hat. You like my hat?
Mm-hmm.
You like these colors? Brown on
like
brown?
that.
Yeah.
Pops a little bit.
Yeah. I do browns and blues. That's what
almost,
I do.
It almost looks Pacers yellow from afar.
Too soon.
Kind of macking.
Too soon.
You know,
what a great run, though.
A great run.
It was a great run.
I think I've seen his heel pop to the floor 89 times.
Dude.
And every time my heart breaks a little bit more.
I mean, it's becoming a pretty historical injury for top players in the NBA.
Oh my gosh, they had a list of like 9 guys.
I mean, think about the most
this
notable
season.
recently. Yeah.
Tatum
Damian
and
Lillard, KD not too long ago.
KD, Clay Thompson.
The most memorable before that, I think, Kobe shot it at all.
Kobe still shot
Kobe
free
made
throws.
a free throw or two.
Pretty awesome.
After.
He walked on it.
That dude.
He walked on it. Yeah.
He's a different kind of
built
human.
Different.
Yeah, it's heart rate. And what's crazy is, did you see initially he falls and he looks back? Because literally all these guys think someone.
Yeah.
It feels like someone hit you.
Yeah.
So they look back and then he realizes right. Oh, dude.
You know what that reminds me of? Do you guys ever get shocked by an electric fence?
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
When have you guys been shocked by an electric?
I feel like
they're on farms and.
Got it. They just
I got one better.
shoot you.
Dude, I got one better.
Well, what's crazy is with the electric fence is because the current runs through it and it doesn't run continuously, you can touch it for a second and nothing happens.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you think somebody just smashes you in the back.
It goes through your whole body. So
it's like boom.
My parents were test driving this car. I've probably told this story before, but
I don't think so.
Okay, my parents were test driving this car, but it was like a friend's car. It wasn't a dealership car, so she still had stuff in her car. And there was this umbrella in the back, and I must have been like a teenager. And Riley was sitting in the middle, my sister, and I took the umbrella and I wanted to open it in the car to shock everybody. So I hold it and I'm about to shoot it open, and I push the button, and it's not an umbrella.
It's a taser.
It's a stun gun.
Oh.
And I literally hit the button. I'm holding it, and I literally was, and I make a sound that I've never heard come out of my mouth before, and I couldn't let go because it was tasing me. And my dad slams on the brakes and goes, "What was that?" And I'm just standing there stunned, and I drop it on the seat, and my parents look down and they look back up and they just laugh their butts off. I could not move.
That's so good.
I don't know why it reminds me of Willow's going to a porta potty, going to the bathroom. She's like, "Dad, I can't get the soap to work."
Oh no.
So I'm like, "All right, let me lift you up and I'll pop it." And she has her hand underneath it. It sprays. What's the
antibacterial?
in her eyes. Just direct shot.
And all you can do is just laugh.
Oh gosh, I got one more since we're telling these stories.
Yeah, I've got another. All
right. I probably told this one. I think this is a fun thing about the podcast, though, because if we love telling these stories over and over again, I love listening to them. To Marcus's point, I mean, we're the only ones that care that listen,
You're
except
gonna
for
laugh
Brett.
so hard later.
So I'm standing at this food truck with Indian food that I have not tried yet, and 3-year-old Charlie is standing right next to me, and I'm talking. This is at an office party, so I'm not really paying attention, and she just is so hungry. She's pulling on me, and so I hand her what I have ordered in this little bowl, and I'm still talking to this loan officer, and all of a sudden 3-year-old Charlie takes a bite and just drops to the floor. Like, just drops like Gumby and starts kicking, and I'm like, oh no. It was just the spiciest food she's ever had. And I've never seen, those little toys that you can push the button and it just crumbles? That's what she did. I've never seen her body move like that. I felt so bad.
Wow.
Just got her water as soon as I could.
Oh no, water's worse.
No, water's not worse.
Yes, it is.
No, it is not.
Dude, I do
Coke,
believe water is worse.
Things that have bubbles is worse.
I think water swishes around the spice all through your mouth.
Well, we didn't have milk available, so water it was.
Spit would have been nice.
You know what Alton Brown did when he went on the what's the Hot Ones or whatever?
Hot Ones, yeah.
Alton Brown did half and half.
Ooh, cream. That would probably work.
It probably would work.
Riley and I
It
were just
fills you
talking
up,
about reactions from that. There's some pretty epic like responses.
There's zero. I would have no shot.
It's such a cool concept. So this guy
It's
literally.
a great concept. It's a great conversation, and I love that they do it. I just like. I think I've told the story about me doing the
Yes.
the hot wing. What's the challenge at B-Dubs?
B-Dubs. The Blazing Challenge.
The Blazing Challenge. I couldn't finish. My glasses are fogging up. Like I can't imagine having a conversation with my mouth just on fire.
B-Dubs
What are you talking about? What did you say? The one-on-one conversation. What is it called?
Hot ones.
Hot ones. Tell
It's
me
like
the
a
premise.
YouTube
So
show.
this guy brings on celebrities, and they try from
Oh,
mild.
I've seen him passing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
The Scoville rating just keeps going up.
Yeah.
And it's hilarious. I mean, I think that I would have to get myself into such a mental state to even be able to attempt that.
is
Yeah.
B-Dubs gonna make it? They tried like a little rebrand. Do you think they're gonna pull through?
I don't know, man. It's all about leadership. Like you look at any restaurant, I know from the inside now. If you look at any store or restaurant that ends up making it or not, it's all about the leadership of that local market.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Truly. I mean, you go to a Kroger, and the reason why they keep putting lipstick on a pig in Kroger's because they continue to hire high schoolers that don't care, and they leave their shopping carts everywhere. They hire managers and don't pay them enough to care. So then you have these other brands come in, and even though they're not mega brands, they're beating out the mega brands ultimately because the mega brands don't hire the good leadership. I mean, I think we saw that. I think that's one of the big things about Nike is they continue to hire great people and pay them what they're worth.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense. Somebody who's gonna care about that individual store's shifts, whatever.
Totally. I mean, Chick-fil-A's model used to be, I don't know if it still is, but it used to be you could not own more than 2 stores, period.
Oh, wow.
You cannot
Correct.
own more than 2 franchises. It started out as 1, and then they said, I think we can do 2.
And unlike a lot of other franchises, it's not necessarily about net worth.
To get one.
Yeah, to
Oh,
get
yeah, you
one.
have to have a testimony. Like, you have to fit the culture.
There's all sorts of things that they look for a cultural fit
Right,
for
which is
that
so smart.
operator.
Nice.
Yeah, it's really, really
Slow
intelligent
build
way
that's
to.
very hard to tear down.
The girl that today, because I had Chick-fil-A today, handed me back my card, and I said, thank you. And she just thought I was going to keep driving, and she didn't say,
My pleasure.
my pleasure. So I just looked at her until she did.
Did you tell on her?
No.
Wow.
And actually, it got more awkward for me, so I kept driving.
How
But
many
I was
times,
disappointed.
Since you started 75 Hard, how many times have you ate Chick-fil-A?
3. It is definitely the only go.
3 total.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
wow.
really the only go-to in a pinch fast food that there is. 'Cause
That's
you can do
very impressive.
Grilled nuggets is like 54 grams of protein.
You and producer Nate are on what day?
What are we on? 16? I believe it's like 16 or 17.
You know, numbers are what kill the flow of this podcast. Numbers should be 15. Completing 15 today. Today is completion. Marcus, you had one more, but I think we may have moved on. That's okay.
Yeah, I
We
think
did.
it's fine.
Okay,
We can move
fantastic. Rem, what are we covering tonight?
One night in 1967, at a New York City bar, a group of men reflected on a family and friends lost to the ongoing war in Vietnam. Eventually, the bartender proposed an idea. One of them should sneak into Vietnam, track down their buddies, share messages of support from back home, and some laughs, and maybe even some beer. John Chick Donohue, a U.S. Marine Corps veteran, working as a merchant seaman, raised his hand. Within days, he had collected names, packed his bag full of American beer, and sailed to Vietnam. He arrived at the port at Quy Nhon and embarked into the odyssey that would change his life forever. Saigon.
Saigon.
It's spelled weird. An epic adventure, the greatest beer run ever, is proof that friendship knows no boundaries, and the ties that bind us are only strengthened in the crucible of war. This is written weird. Anyway, this book is The Greatest Beer Run Ever, a memoir,
Memoir?
a
memoir?
a memoir of friendship, loyalty, and war. John Chick Donohue and J.T. Malloy.
Johnny Chicky.
Is it chick or chicky?
So is this
Chicky.
how?
Chicky
Is this
is what he
how
says in the audio.
Quy Nhon? Is it Saigon?
I thought it was Saigon.
Well, I think this must be the port because there's no way that's how they spell Saigon. But I didn't read it. I looked
Send it to me.
Saigon.
No, I mean it's like.
I understand. So maybe.
Anyway.
While that wasn't written well, I thought the book itself was written very, very well.
I think it's Queenon. Yeah,
Queenon.
That was
the port.
That is a place where he lands.
Book was great. This is a rare case that I'm going to say this, but the movie's better.
Wow,
Oh, that's interesting. I disagree.
You usually,
but I
you
read
didn't
the
watch
book
it.
first.
Yeah, well, that doesn't matter. For me, it doesn't matter because there's plenty of books and movies that I've watched. I do think it helps, whichever one you watch first, you've now like become romantic about that thing. But
romantic about the truth
first
of what
thing,
really happened?
No, the first
book?
thing. The first thing that you watch, you become romantic.
I saw
about.
a couple clips of the movie that I was like, that's not it.
I mean, every movie will take creative liberties, just like Hamilton, your beloved Hamilton. We're going to do this next episode.
But I haven't read Hamilton, so it doesn't matter to me.
Well, I don't know why you're picking a fight today. Brett chose violence, but I believe personally, the book is written really well, and I really like how the chapters end, and we're going to get into that.
Yeah.
But the movie itself, I think, puts you right there, and the book sometimes doesn't. It's more like you just can't picture what he's talking about.
I don't know what the movie is.
I could understand that just because, you've never been to the jungles in Vietnam or whatever.
It makes it alive.
Does the movie feel like two totally different? Like I felt like the book was like first half is him, his buddies back home. Second half is all war. Is the movie the same?
Offensive. No, I'm not really.
No,
it gets right into it.
Does it? Okay. Yeah, that's how I felt about the book anyway.
Well, it does, but the time between the Tet Offensive and the end of the movie is not half of the movie.
Got it. Whereas the book, I felt like
the book gets half.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's a lot that happens in Vietnam after the Tet Offensive.
Yeah, the book, a little bit of a history lesson with not just his...
I learned a ton.
Yeah. Well, if you learned a ton, imagine how much I learned. What'd you know going into it? Check this out. Here's what I knew going into it. I didn't even know this book was about the Vietnam War.
No. Do you think it was about the Donner Party?
No, I thought it was going to be like I hope they serve beer in hell type of
really?
Book. I
just because it had the same flair of title?
I just thought it was going to be some dudes. I didn't mean it was going to be like that, but like I thought it was going to be just about some dudes.
Well, he
reckless.
does think that he goes to purgatory at one point.
That is true.
That's one of my favorite book quotes at the end of the book. I'll save it though.
She even named her feral tomcat after him.
That's the next episode.
That's true.
That's true.
Hey, I'm just a little foreshadowing here, Hamilton. What'd you know going into it, Marcus?
I knew that they had made a movie,
mm-hmm.
and then we all went to brunch with our wives, and we went to Barnes and Noble afterwards, and I saw this book.
Where did we go to brunch? Where did we go?
First Watch.
that
And
was pretty good.
That was
I had that Mexican burrito egg thing. It was good. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was funny how the guys just ordered whatever they wanted, and then the ladies were like scared to order what they wanted because they were worried about what the other lady thought. I was like, what? Just order food.
They do, and I'm not making fun here for anyone who might listen to this. They do.
The other half of our listeners.
They do spend a lot of time thinking about
worrying about other people.
They do. Yeah.
It's like that monologue in Barbie. Every girl stands up and applauds after that monologue, including our wives.
Interesting. So all I knew was that they had made a movie, and I don't even know if I knew it was a book. And then I saw the book, and I said, I bet that's the kind of book that would be great to do for the podcast. Yes. And
what year? What year's the book?
2015.
Oh wow! So this is pretty. I mean, in terms of books getting made into movies, that's pretty quick. 7 years.
Yeah, I mean, well, the movie came out a year and a half ago or so.
2022.
Yeah. Like 2022.
2015 plus 7.
Holy cow!
Plus 7.
Zac Efron does a great job in the movie. He really brings the character to life. He embodies him.
I think he's an underrated actor.
Yeah.
And he doesn't look quite as... is this pre-accident?
Yes.
It is.
The accident was last year.
Oh, wow. So he's done movies since...
2 years ago.
Yeah. So this might have been his last pre-accident movie because he looks very
He doesn't look that bad, guys.
I'm not saying he looks bad. He just
I don't even know what we're talking
he looks
about.
artificial.
He had an accident, had to have plastic surgery on his jaw.
Face
And
surgery.
It squared his jaw a lot.
Nate, look up a picture. Show Marcus, and
Yeah.
Marcus is going to have a reaction. He definitely looks different.
You guys are getting something special on the podcast today.
Marcus
reaction, who doesn't care to start
audibly.
with and won't care after either.
I only say because Rem said he doesn't. I think it looks very different, not bad, but definitely different.
Oh,
Yeah.
I just thought he was getting older, to be honest.
Yes, because in Hollywood, people have more distinctive
Yeah,
jawlines.
I've seen him since. I guess I didn't realize it was.
Rem,
because of an
what'd you know
accident.
going into it?
Not much. I saw the trailer and I like Zac Efron, so I watched the movie. Thought the movie was really good. It definitely it helps you put together, like, what I know about Vietnam is anything that I've learned from Forrest Gump and
Viet frickin' damn.
Nam. This Is Us, I think, does a really good portrayal of scenes in Nam and like the
What character is involved in Nam? In This Is
his
Us?
brother.
Ah, got it.
The
I was just gonna
the
leave
uncle.
it. I was gonna leave it there for people who actually know.
The uncle, yeah. I thought they did a really good job of showing like what was going on.
Full
the
Metal
turmoil
Jacket, right?
there. Yes. Yep.
Full Metal Jacket.
So basically movies.
I've
Yeah.
seen Full Metal Jacket. Did not remember it was about Vietnam until
Yeah.
you said that.
You know, we had a speaker, Rocky Blyer, who's a football player,
Mm-hmm.
who was in Nam at one of our breakfasts, and he was taken in as a POW.
Oh wow.
Escaped from being a POW, went just into the jungle, found a bunch of other escaped, like this renegade crew.
Oh, nice.
That was just taken out.
Oh, wow.
Viet Cong
So
all over the
basically,
place. Got his leg
Inglourious Basterds.
got his leg basically blown off, right? And then ends up coming back and playing in the NFL after that.
Wow.
And wins championships for the Steelers.
How do you do that?
An incredible human.
How do you play with a prosthetic leg?
It wasn't prosthetic. His leg just got gnarled. Like,
No way.
yeah, and it healed. And
I found a new podcast called Medal of Honor by Malcolm Gladwell. It's all about each episode is one individual Medal of Honor recipient.
oh, that's a good one.
Really good.
Yeah,
Really, really good.
yeah. But yeah, so I knew that, and then, obviously, not Rocky. Rambo has some Vietnam stuff.
Yep. I just wish my
He goes back into Vietnam to get POWs
That's
in number 2.
Fictional.
Yeah.
Guys, sorry.
No,
But
it's
do you
American
know,
history.
But do you know what fiction is?
It's time for a 30-second synopsis. Marcus does 9 words. I do slam poetry. Get the girl. Here we go.
Every time I think that.
Marcus, you ready?
Yeah,
All right, rock and roll, man.
I think I'm ready. Civilian brings beer into Vietnam and gets stuck indefinitely.
Oh, nice. Also, Marcus, what are we drinking tonight?
I got a little PBR.
Oh,
Isn't this like the,
Pabst
the
Blue
second or
Ribbon.
third time with per PBR?
Second time.
Okay.
Yeah.
What other movie? Do we remember?
I think I also did it for Sam Walton
Yeah.
because he's so cheap.
Oh.
Yeah, this is the second time for the PBR, but literally they talk about PBR
Yeah.
as one of the beers that they're going to bring them that's going to remind them of home, which I think is hilarious. I think I'm bringing PBR to the lake for draft weekend, by the way. Now that the finals are over, we can talk about the draft weekend.
Draft weekend is close to Labor Day weekend, and that's a working man's beer right there.
this just tastes like the lake to me. So
I've never
I'm in.
tasted the lake.
I think it tastes like lake water is what you mean.
I'm drinking High
Yeah,
Noons because I'm
basically.
allergic to beer. For the listeners that know,
But
I
you
just
would
finished,
drink a PBR.
I would drink a PBR. If we were playing beer pong, I would drink PBR.
Yeah.
Um,
The other thing
shots
I
of beer
thought
don't
about
hurt
was
me
the
as much.
Manhattan though, because he has that on the flight home, and he says he has about 6 of them,
Oh man.
and then he says, and I never had one since, and I thought that was a real shame.
I also
That
just
flight home, because he talks about the flight home at the end of the book.
Yeah.
He sits next to the guy and they bump him up to first class, and he texts the guy next to him, says, "Where you headed?" And he says, "Home." And he goes, "It's a long story." And the dude says, "Well, we got 6 hours. Let's have a drink and talk about it." And I was just thinking, that's my worst nightmare and Marcus's wet dream. like at the same
So
time.
since you're getting close to Matthew Kelly, do you know Matthew Kelly's barometer for whether he's going to talk to
I
somebody?
do. I mentioned it to him.
Okay.
I said, do you remember
what are you reading?
said?
And if they say they don't read, he's like, oh, and then he just
We have
And
nothing
if they
in common.
say dream manager,
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah, actually,
a lot of
Rhythm of
connections
Life. This author. Yeah.
this author's great.
So I'm drinking High Noon. I also just drank coffee with more grounds in it than ever before, and it works. I am feeling good.
It's like
He's
like
chopping
George,
it up
like
with
George of the Jungle.
He's chopping up coffee lines over
No,
there.
it's like have you ever seen the guys just down a cup of pre-workout instead of like mixing it? That's
Yeah.
what I basically.
Have you seen George of the Jungle, right?
Yeah.
When he's like
Brendan Fraser.
George get coffee. George get girl. Ursula love George. And he just eats the coffee, just running around all over
Man,
the
that's
place.
a deep track right there.
Oh man.
Brendan Fraser had a moment.
He did.
He really had a moment.
Dudley Do Right.
I feel like there's something that happened. That
Yeah, he left
ruined-
Hollywood.
Oh.
Left Hollywood, came back and did The Whale and had like a lot of like synergy with the character and yeah.
Left Hollywood because he didn't like who he was becoming, sort of thing. or-
No, I can't remember the story. I don't want to botch it, but
Okay.
there was definitely a moment when he came back to.
Tell you what, man. Hard to beat The Mummy.
You love The Mummy?
I think it's just one of those nostalgic movies for me. You know,
That's funny.
So I have
love
a
it.
we have a
I'd never watched
listener
it myself.
from
you've never watched it?
I've seen it.
Oh.
I just never
we
watched
have
it.
a
with
listener
song.
from the Syracuse, New York area, friend of the show, Chris Jones, who I just had a
Juice.
conversation with today because he
Today.
loved Remington and I's Frodo take,
Oh.
and he's a big Lord of the Rings fan. He said
Little Girl Boy.
he hates The Hobbit though.
Oh.
He said
Oh, the
all
movies?
He
Yeah.
said I
God
can't
doesn't
tell you
give
which one I
with both hands,
watched.
I guess.
He says I watched one and all these little guys are running around dying, and I know what they're doing, so I'm not going to watch it for character development reasons. Anyway, he moved on, and
We did promise him that if he comes here, he could do an
Oh, he'd
episode
be
with us
great.
live.
he'd be fantastic. Dang it! What were we just
I
talking
don't know.
about?
Yeah, this whole coffee version of Brett is got to be the
I can't
worst thing
wait till
for
the
a
next
host.
episode. We're doing a double tonight. It'll be fun.
Oh, Brendan Fraser. I said, yeah. I think that Frodo is. We agreed he's the most overrated hero we've been sold as the main character. I said, is there anyone else on this list for you? And without hesitation, he said Indiana Jones.
Is not a hero.
He said if Indiana Jones didn't exist, nothing in the movie would have changed. So I've never seen it. You guys have. When you watch
In the
it,
movie or
That's-
one of the 5
okay,
movies?
That's interesting.
There's
It's
6
an
movies.
interesting take, but I will tell you that I don't watch it because I think Indiana Jones is a hero. I watch it because I think he's entertaining.
right? It doesn't mean that he loves Lord of the Rings. It's one of his favorite franchises. He
Yeah.
just thinks Frodo is a horrible
Yeah.
hero, which he's not.
Protagonist.
Protagonist, yes.
Yeah.
That's actually the word Chris used. So
Yeah.
he's smarter than me. Yeah, Indiana Jones. So we'll have to see. Is that on the list? We got Indiana Jones.
Oh,
somewhere.
for sure.
Okay.
Which one would we do though?
Temple of Doom.
With Brett? With
You got to do Temple of Doom. You got to do Temple.
Is that
of
the
Doom.
one with the skeleton situation?
No.
No.
I'm
Which
not gonna
number?
ruin-
Is,
I'm not
I mean,
gonna
there's
ruin it.
skeletons in all of them.
which number is it?
2.
Yeah.
So you
It's
don't.
like widely regarded as the worst one.
Oh, that's awesome. All right.
You think so?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Interesting.
And
Everybody loves Raiders.
We could do Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Is that the
Everybody,
first
I love
one?
them all.
everybody loves Raiders of the Lost Ark.
I feel like
I even
And
like the
then-
one they did with Shia LaBeouf. They
and
were going to
then-
continue it with Shia LaBeouf, and then it just
Last
died.
Crusade.
Sean Connery.
Yeah, Last Crusade has Sean Connery, and that's a great movie.
So I've never seen any of them. I feel like we got to do one
For sure.
because I haven't seen it.
Here's what's going to happen, though.
Mm-hmm.
We'll do the first one, and then you'll want to watch the other ones.
yeah, for
Love
sure.
it.
Yeah.
We should
Love
do
it.
we should do Raiders if we're gonna do one.
Think of where this show would be if we didn't do Lord of the Rings.
You know what's crazy is we have more listeners on Lord of the Rings Part 2 than Part 1. Riddle me
Nice.
that. Riddle me that. Like, who listens to Part 2 without listening to Part 1?
I'll tell you what. Since we did that, I've been listening and reading, going back and forth
You're reading Lord of the Rings?
to Fellowship of the Ring. Really, really good.
Did they ever respond?
Really?
Did they ever?
Worth the hype?
Did they ever respond
I
to
mean-
our podcast situation?
Who?
Did they say if I could just facilitate without reading the book?
I don't think I ever saw an email back.
Me either.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm reading Tuesdays with Maury for the first time.
Oh.
man, Mitch. If you're listening to the show and you haven't read a Mitch album book, definitely pick up Tuesdays with Maury. It's
very good.
so good.
It's very good. I'm very sad for Maury because I don't feel like he gets it near the end. But he has lots of really good advice.
I remember reading it quick too. It's a quick
It's
one.
very fast. Yeah, it's a real quick.
I think the size of all Mitch's books are the same. He does that little
that
book with the really cool paper.
Dude,
in
there's
it.
something to be said for that.
The little book, the really cool
the
paper.
branding.
That
There's
paper.
something
What do
to
you
be said
call
for-
that paper? What does he use?
Well, that was something I appreciated about this book. It was quick. It was quick to read. I mean, I
Quick
literally we listened to it in 5 hours, and then I read through it in
Dude,
a day.
The book I've gotten that response from more than anything else is How to Lead. It's great. Pick it up on Amazon.
I did read that in
People
2 hours.
I'm
I
telling
did.
you, people love the quickness. People hate to read. They don't want a homework
You read that in
assignment.
2 hours?
His, yeah.
Yeah. How long is it? How many pages?
168.
Wow. Are you going to do an Audible?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I got some time now.
Might take 3 hours.
Here, let's preview the Audible slam poetry. First thought: is this the same narrator that says "thumb bunker" from Secret Hitler?
Put it back into your Hitler hole.
You need someone to head 8,000 miles away to take some buddies from the neighborhood, a couple of cold ones in the middle of the Vietnam War? I guess I could go. Chickie, what the heck are you doing here? It's all fun and games until you stumble upon an embassy attack. The Tet Offensive. I now know what the Tet Offensive was. Beer run? Chickie's got it. Food run? Chickie's got it. He's basically the best friend you never had. This book is about how 4 days turned into 4 months in Viet frickin' Nam.
Yeah, freaking name.
Frickin' Nam. What made us stop and think, oh, he loves it?
That's one of my favorite lines from Return to Me, in case you guys are wondering. The greatest
You love
chick
that
flip
movie.
of all time. They're standing there, and the guy, Jim Belushi, asks the character, he goes, "Hey, what do you do?" And he goes, "I'm a vet." And he goes, "Yeah, I didn't go to Nam."
I use that. I use that a lot. If somebody asks, like, "Oh, where'd you hear that?" or "Where'd you learn that?" It's back in Nam.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's good.
my uncle was in Nam.
I don't know that. Actually,
He was drafted.
Wow.
grandpa-
How old was he?
18, I think.
18. So the book mentioned early on that some guy was 26. Oh, he was 26. Chickie was 26, and that was
Chickie was 26.
and that
yeah.
was the reason why he thought that that's why he was turned down from the draft, because he was too old.
Yeah,
Yes.
I didn't know that LBJ.
Increased?
I didn't know that JFK said that fathers couldn't be drafted,
Even though one of his buddies was, and he
then-
went anyway.
and then B, that LBJ said, "No, we'll draft fathers." That's
What-
interesting.
so I already, based on, I don't know what movie it was. Maybe it was something we did for the show. I already had a less than awesome feeling in my gut of LBJ. And this did not help. This did not help. But also, I wasn't. I don't know
So my
details.
uncle, I don't know much. I haven't heard very many stories, but I thought this was really cool. He became an Army Ranger. So he said he gets drafted and then becomes an Army Ranger. Because he said, well, I figured if I was going over there, I better be the best trained possible. So he like flew helicopters, did
Oh,
all
wow.
kinds of crap. He led scout teams, and his the one thing I do remember I remember vividly him telling me, I think I did a report at one point in time, was that he never lost a guy when he was over there, like on
That was
one
really
of his
important to him.
one of his teams.
Yeah.
But they would be like hiding in the jungle under leaves and stuff, and the Viet Cong would be like walking by them.
Because that was the first time that they would introduce guerrilla warfare, right?
Yeah, which is funny because like we've covered the Revolutionary War. Like that's how we won the Revolutionary War.
Right.
You know, it's very similar.
Yeah.
Basically, no holds bar. We're not gonna hold to the military mores
Lines,
or whatever.
yeah.
You know,
Mores. That is a based on moral.
I don't actually know.
Wait, is that plural? Did you just make it up?
No, it's definitely a word.
I like that word.
Yeah.
It's good.
Do I know what it means? Not really.
It's a good, no. All you got to do is know how to use it. You don't have to be able to
Brett
define
says,
it.
I like that word.
I like that word. All right, Rem.
Do you guys know why the Vietnam War, above all wars, was protested so heavily?
It was the first TV war.
That's one reason. When I looked it up, it seemed like there was two big reasons. The TV war, like everyone had a front row seat for the first time.
They also had just gone through it with Korea.
Are you saying this is what made you stop and think?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Because
that's one of the
every time
questions.
you cover Vietnam, immediately what comes out is how much pain the troops had looking back at an unsupportive America.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That we're fighting for our country
'Cause of hippies, man.
and you're coming at, but it wasn't just hippies. It was like it was business owners. It was like everybody. And you have so the draft felt unfair, and it was televised. And
We gotta do Rambo.
And so those two things are happening, and now they're watching it. They've got a front row seat to real life, and you would think that front row seat would, but because it was 58,000 men died on the U.S. side. So I think what happened was they're watching this, and it was mostly Vietnamese soldiers, but then also civilians dying, and they didn't know how to stomach that. And so you're seeing it's crazy timing, because if we would have covered this couple weeks ago,
It is crazy time.
I never would have said this is what's happening with the U.S. right now. But
I know.
It's just crazy timing what's
It
going
is
on
crazy
with Iran.
timing.
And now you have everything on social media is idiots who have no idea what they're talking about, just protesting and have zero facts. I mean, you're seeing it all over again. And now you're going to lose support for the people who are fighting for your freedom.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like I've seen responses from political figures on both sides fairly supportive so far.
Of Iran.
Yes.
Of how
About the
Trump
choice.
has handled it?
Yes.
Yeah, no, you're going to have
Because he
support.
took out their nuclear bases.
Yeah,
or
yeah.
whatever.
But I mean, I'm talking about the people who actually know what the heck they're talking about, not random Jim 8974.
I mean, you could be in an echo chamber.
I would be lying if I didn't say that 97% of my energy over the last 2 weeks has been spent on the Pacers. So any
That's true.
any extra listening or watching has been that. I knew that we engaged with Iran, and that's about it.
Yeah. I mean, and by the time this releases, there's going to be a lot more that comes out. But I think you're right. As a general rule, both sides understand the necessity of it. But you do have the diehards on the left that are protesting every move he makes or how he makes the move.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, we don't have to get into it. This is not a political podcast
But it was interesting.
unless you agree with us and everything we say.
It was interesting timing. But it just makes it semi-realer than it would have been without it happening this week.
Chicky was an interesting character too, because he served 4 years in the Marines.
He did.
But he did not want to be seen as a soldier. He didn't think like a soldier. They handed him a gun. He gave it back. He definitely was over the life of a soldier.
Yeah, he said he had been shot one time when he was a kid.
Yeah.
And didn't wish that on anybody else. And even his time as a soldier was in a time of peace.
Right.
And he served on ships.
Yes.
Which is how he learned how to be a merchant.
Yeah, I said
seaman.
the word seaman an uncomfortable amount of times in this book. I will say that.
Why is it so uncomfortable, Brett? Why is it so uncomfortable?
Well, it's just there's a couple phrases he said where if you're coming into the book a little late, you're wondering what he means by that. And, it's been a minute since you listened to it and you pick it up and he's like, seaman here, seaman there. And you're like, why is there so much seaman?
A merchant seaman.
Yeah, exactly. It was like, there's not a lot to do on the ship. I get it. But do we have to go into grave detail?
I can confirm.
It's like being at the all-male college.
I can confirm the narrator is not the guy that says thumb bunker. I looked it up.
Thanks, Brett.
It is
Are
not.
we?
That explains why you weren't
asked
responding to anything I just said.
Have we asked what made us think? Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Round state.
I said neighborhoods in NYC. So we've encountered this
Pacino.
a few times,
Yep.
right? Pacino and with Alan Alda.
Mm-hmm.
So here's my question. We live in the suburbs. I mean, some neighborhoods I feel like in the suburbs are tight. Some aren't. But it does feel like this lost bit of Americana where they just knew everybody. They knew what was going on. I feel like that's how I grew up in my small like hometown. We went to church to the same place. We went to grocery shop at the same place. We see each other everywhere, at the ballpark, at everything, right? So we would know if a kid went off to war and died from our hometown. But it seems like these like pockets of New York City were very similar, and it's just it's really cool.
They also say it was a different time because you were a train away from a jungle gym, is what they said. In downtown Manhattan, there was an area where there was just like a ton of nature right around the corner, where it was. And they said it was a different time in the 50s and 60s. You could just be gone all day. In chapter 24, he says, everywhere I went, I felt like I knew everyone. We were in the middle of a war zone, and I still knew people.
Yeah,
in Vietnam.
Yeah.
I mean, it is crazy.
I think too now, because of the internet and social media, you aren't forced to make any new friends. You could move to a new state and keep all the same friends and stay in your house. And to your point, Marcus, not only could somebody go to war that is your next door neighbor and you would never know, they could go to war, die, and you would literally never have to know. Whereas
people like go into their garage and they close the garage.
Randy Frazee wrote the book Real Simplicity. He also did he came to our church. He did the Bible. He did the Bible, but in the story version, the story I think he called it. But he said, like back in the day, you would park your car, you would come home for lunch because you worked within 10 minutes of home. And now it's like because of major highways and all this, like you would move 45 minutes away and just keep your same church and you wouldn't like be a part of the community. But that you literally open the garage door, drive in, turn off the car, close the garage door.
Dude, it's so funny you guys are bringing this up because because of 75 Hard, one of my workouts primarily being outside is walking.
Yeah.
And I walk with a weighted vest for 45 minutes plus, and I walk all over this neighborhood, and I kid you not, like before it hit the 90s, like it was beautiful 70s, there's nobody outside. I went on an entire walk in a gorgeous day.
No, that's right.
In 3 different neighborhoods. Not a single person did I see. Now, today was a little different.
We're the weirdest family in our neighborhood because we're outside and out front all the time.
I don't get what you're doing inside.
And this is where like all the kids come and hang out is like at our house. And kids are playing in the street so people know to go slow around our house. But even then, we know the neighbors that walk a lot. But that's it. Like there are literally neighbors that I've lived across from for like 7 years.
Yeah.
And I don't know his name.
Yeah. He was power washing the sidewalk the other day.
He was.
Yeah.
And this is and by the way, this is me. Like I try. I try to engage with people.
He was wearing a weird hat. I don't think you're missing out on anything.
I mean,
but I do the same thing, not 45 minutes, but I do about a mile and a half every morning with our dog Bentley. And the kids on summer break realized this one day. If you're listening to the podcast and you're questioning if your kids will do this with you, Rose literally 3 days in a row set an alarm on her phone to wake up. Got dressed, came downstairs and was like, "Have you taken the walk yet?"
Yeah,
they want that.
Yeah, our kids love going on walks.
You said he was wearing a weird hat. You got to think of his hat. So 15 years ago, maybe more, Brett and I are on a cruise, and we're at the casino, and we were in a giddy mood, and the guy at the table next to us.
For the record, I have no idea. I don't know where this is going.
So you get
Brett's gonna be more surprised than me.
I'm so excited.
Brett does not get mean, but he gets aggressive and funny when he feels defensive.
Yes.
And the guy at the table next to us was making fun of us because we were just being ridiculous when we would like hit 21 or something, whatever.
Oh yeah.
Brett honed in on this dude's hat because he was wearing a white hat, and he just kept making fun of him for wearing a white hat. By the end of it, I caught the emblem, and it was a West Ham United hat, which is the Green Street Hooligans. And so I struck up a conversation with him, won him over, and he gave me that hat. I still have it. I have that white hat. But yeah, you got a thing with hats. You definitely notice people's hats.
That made me think of a Wes Goddard Hawaii situation. I do get pretty passive aggressive in those situations.
You for sure do.
But it's funny. It's a funny passive aggressive for us.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's very funny for me when I'm hanging out with you.
Except the people that will actually have to throw hands, it's not as funny.
You'll have to ask Riley about my defense.
I mean, I've been kicked
protocol.
out of a couple bars before.
That was your own friends.
It's true.
Was there a super jab at Dick Cheney in the beginning of the book?
Oh yeah, he went after
about
him hard.
the college deferment thing.
Yeah, this guy's a hardcore Democrat.
So I didn't know. Oh, Chicky is a hardcore Democrat, and you think that was probably created based on him going back to Vietnam? Like,
well, I mean, everybody in the unions
and Democrat has changed. Like
whatever. I mean, he wrote this book in 2015,
right?
So, or 2014 probably. But everybody.
Why do you think it took him so long to write this book? By the way,
he was so involved in the union that there's just no way he wasn't Democrat.
So Dick Cheney, it was college deferment, meaning if you said I can't get drafted because
I'm in college.
Mm-hmm. Was that a way for people, rich families, to just get out of the draft?
That's one way.
Essentially, what? Yeah. But is that where the idea came from? What do you mean? Let's allow people. Like, hey, we got to find a way for any rich families to not be able to get their kids drafted.
I don't know.
Yeah, but it was definitely leveraged that way.
Yeah, I mean, if you can afford to go to college, then you can essentially delay the draft.
And his joke was that Dick Cheney went like for 8 years.
Yeah.
To not be a doctor.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of people go to college for 8 years.
Good job, though.
Yeah, he did.
Well, that was before. I mean, he got a good job before he went to be the VP.
Oh,
because he worked for the defense contractor. I want to say Halliburton, but it's not Halliburton. It's
not Halliburton. R.I.P.
Dude, no. His surgery's probably between now and the show.
There's this guy at my office that I talk Pacers with.
Is this your drug dealer?
No. Thanks for ruining every joke I've ever told. Yeah. So I go back there, and his name is Nolan. He's 20, I don't know, 3 or 4, maybe 5. Doesn't have a wife. I go, Nolan. I always talk Pacers with him, and I just go back there, and I just keep saying his name. He goes, Rem, I've never been married, but I'd have to think a divorce wouldn't feel as much pain as what I'm going through right now.
Oh, gosh.
He goes, every breakup ever, I'd give it back just to not feel this pain.
Oh, my gosh.
It's like this dude. But you know what? He's not alone in like the Pacer fandom.
Dude.
It's a real thing.
I had a moment when Jalen hit that 3 and they went up by 21. And the kids were with me, and I just like grabbed the pillow and screamed into it because I knew it was over.
Yeah, the corner 3.
And I just knew it was over. And like the last 4 or so years of my fandom just flashed before my eyes because Wabash College made it to the Final Four in D3, and we went up and watched them, and they get beat.
Yep.
Purdue makes it to the national championship game. Gets beat. The Pacers make it to this game 7. And by the way, are looking pretty freaking good.
Yeah.
And get beat.
Dude,
and
he doesn't. Hey, listen. He doesn't.
I just want one team to win.
He had 9 points in the first 3
or 4 from 3.
5 minutes.
We would have won
3 for 4.
If he played that game. We would have won.
Here's what's dumb.
We would not have had that many turnovers with him in the game.
And everybody's making fun of the NBA today because the way the Thunder acted after they won was like they just want a pickup game. Like because they won with Halliburton getting hurt, it's the biggest non-story. Nobody cares. If the Pacers win, that's one of the most memorable finals and playoffs. It's still one
of the most memorable.
Hold on. NBA is making fun of them because they want a pickup game. Like, what do you mean?
Dude, so they just played. So I just saw today, I don't know who posted it, what it sounded like, announcers, what it looked like in the stadium, the last World Series win.
Yeah.
Not even a Game 7. Super Bowl, which was a blowout. NHL.
Yep.
And then they played what just happened. at NBA Finals when they won. It's one of these things is not like the other. The most unexciting,
they didn't appreciate it?
No, dude, the Thunder players are...
Is it because you're saying this is because they're deflated about it not being as big a victory because Halliburton went down?
I think it's a state of many in the NBA. I think the Pacers are one of the few teams that play with that much heart and
play
grit
with passion.
and passion.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not when you think of SGA, you don't think of passion.
NBA players, literally, most of them, just it's like I remember George Hill talking at one point in time, and he was like, "What? It's just a job." You know, like,
I gotta be honest. I mean, Matherin's interview was like that, and our MVP the last 2 years, Croatian boy.
Oh, Jokic?
Nikola Jokic. Yeah. Well, that's my point.
Serban.
Yeah.
Serban.
So
that's why people love college basketball.
Yes. Mm-hmm. In the urgency about
also
it as
because you can't just shove people 3 feet and then shoot a shot. Anyway, dude, how crazy was it? So he decides, just for everybody's benefit here that hasn't read the book.
Bro,
right?
look at this right here. So we're screening the movie in the background. We're not doing the podcast on the movie. But here's what I'm talking about. This is when he calls his friend. Do you remember the part of the book where he's like, "Hey, you got to call he's got to come meet you," and he doesn't know why. So he's running through a landmine just to see Chicky, and this is when it becomes real for Chicky.
He's running.
Like he's running for his life just to see Chicky.
But he doesn't know that it's Chicky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Anyway, so basically let's just set it up for everybody. They're sitting at the bar and Chicky said the colonel says, "Hey, give me your
Siemens member card, whatever it is.
Give me your member card so that I can go take these beers over there."
Yeah.
And he realizes, "Oh, I could take these beers over there." And then he says, "Okay, I'm going to do it."
Well, hold on. I think it was like, well, you can't do it, so I guess I'd have to. He literally had a lady give him money the next day,
yeah.
and he wouldn't take it because he still wasn't committed.
Still
to
wasn't
going.
committed.
I'm telling you,
drunken him thought in the moment.
Okay, if that's how you read
it, thought like, yeah, I could do that, you know. So then he reluctantly is like, yeah, yes. I'll do it.
Yes.
I'll take it for them.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And the next day is when it starts getting real because people are bringing him stuff. Like they're like, "Here's where my son is. Here's where my son is. Mm-hmm. You know, take him $100. Take him these notes or whatever." And he then gets on the ship, goes to Vietnam, gets off the ship, and within the way
no plan.
The way it tells in the book, at least. Basically, the first group he comes up upon are the MPs that have one of the guys that he's looking for.
They give him the name, and they're like, "Yeah, he's gonna be pulling in."
How crazy is that he's just
just
right
put one
there.
foot in front of the other sometimes.
That's awesome.
He basically hitchhiked his way through Vietnam,
which is insane.
Was part of this Chicky being lost, not really having a mission in life? So this was his way to
seems like
kind of extend, like, hey. This is going to buy me time. Gives me something to do.
Seems like that.
And I don't want to understate. I don't want to make it sound like this dude didn't literally risk his life.
The book does not. The book does not go into that, but the movie does. The movie makes it more like I'm trying to figure out what I'm doing in life, and while I'm figuring this out, I'm just going to love on these guys who are doing something bigger than what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Whereas the book kind of jumps right in.
Yeah. One other thing in the book is when they talk about his childhood friends. Brings back like nicknames.
Oh yeah,
dude, we got to bring back nicknames, man. Johnny One Punch Malog. We gotta. If we all had a nickname middle of our first and last, what would it be?
Oh man, we should have came ready with
this.
Right,
well, when it hits you, let me know.
I've never had a nickname that stuck. Like people have tried to give me nicknames. I feel like my whole life, and it's never stuck. The only one that's close.
It's got to be about your butt. There's no doubt in my mind. It is. It has to be.
No, the only one that's close is that I had the same tennis coach as my dad. And my dad, the nickname that my dad was given when he played tennis was Mongoose. Mangus, Mongoose. He's quick, you know. and
Marcus
and
Mongus
then
Mangus.
and so it got shortened though to Goose.
Ah.
And so my dad was called Goose. And then, for a basically 3-year period of my life, there were teammates and everybody else that would call me Goose because that's what the coach had called my dad, and that's what he called me.
Holy cow, dude! Your tennis coach was your dad's tennis coach?
Yeah, 40 years.
Wow.
He was legendary.
That's so cool. At Bremen?
At Bremen. Yeah.
I there's part of me that really wants to aspire for that contentment. That's probably a happy life.
That's really cool. I had a podcast the other day with a realtor.
Producer Nate says Brett Hollywood Wiggins.
Oh.
Marcus Meta World Peace.
Marcus Meta World Peace.
Yeah.
And Remington 9th Hole Ramsey.
Remington 9th hole. 19th hole? You talking about Casa Santa?
I thought he said night pole. I like night pole better.
Yeah.
9th hole.
From Casa Santa.
That would
Dude.
be 19th hole.
I will tell you that
Oh, by the 9th hole, yes.
nicknames are
Casa
hilarious.
Santa.
Because I remember Brett naming all his kids saying he's gonna don't call, I remember Rose. We're not gonna call her Rosie. Don't call her Rosie. This
Yep.
was what 6 years ago,
6 years ago.
and now what do you call her?
Rosie Posey.
That's right.
Well, do you know the story behind that?
Here's the thing, though. You can't pick what your kids' nicknames
That's
are.
fair.
The market dictates what your nickname
Market
is.
dictates.
And you could always so for me personally, you could always tell who my actual friends were versus people who didn't really know me that well, because in different groups along the way would call me Remy. No one called me Remy. Everyone calls me Rem. So then I'd get into
Whenever people call you Remy, I'm like, who?
Yeah, exactly. It'd be like pickup basketball guys that I only see them there, or a guy that he knew enough at Rivington called him Remy, something like that. My aunt was the only one who called me Remy my whole life, and so what's funny now is my son, whose name is Remy, is getting kind of confusing because some people are calling him Rem, and I can't dictate that, but his name is Remy.
I've only called him Remy.
Yeah,
I've only called him Remy.
I just call him R.
don't do that. What's the story on Rosie Posey?
I call him Marcus, to be honest, because that's what I was hoping his name would be.
So there's a family member of mine who
I didn't even get a middle name.
there's a ex-wife situation where both family members, one may or may not have a name, and when the other one found out we were going to call her Rosalie, she goes, "You're not going to call her Rosie though, right?" And that's why we said, please don't call her Rosie. But it died hard.
Interesting.
Well,
So Rosie Posey.
So last thing on this, and I'll stop. But Colby has always just been Colby, right? Her middle name is Jan. My mom is Kathy Jan, and Colby Jan. She spends a week with my parents over spring break, and my dad
Calls
is
her
the
Colby
only person who calls her CJ.
okay.
Okay, so he calls Jude JT because John Thomas and Jude Thomas, and then he calls Colby Jan or CJ, and he thinks it's great, right? She comes back to her softball team, and they're getting names on the back of their jerseys.
Yeah.
And she tells them CJ.
Yeah.
And she tells her whole team to call her CJ.
she's gonna have a whole sect of
all
kids calling her
season, all the parents are like, "Come on, CJ, let's go!" And
my
I'm like
gosh.
Colby or Colbs, and they're looking at me like, "Are we saying the right thing?" I'm like, "Listen, that's what she wanted. I don't care. It is what it is." But
kids are funny.
I just can't get
Willow
just
and
can't get
Quinn's
there.
class at school. There's 3 Carolines,
Yeah.
so we call one of them CC.
Yeah. CC.
And every
Yeah.
time her mom's around, they call her Caroline explicitly.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm doing something wrong.
Well, that's probably how the parents of the softball team feel.
Correct.
They're like, They're like, is it not CJ?
Dude,
I'm
it's
like,
so funny.
Listen, it's new. I don't know. I can't stop it.
It's so funny. I call
market dictated.
I call Charlie Charles, and when someone hasn't met her for the first time, I say, Charles, come here, and they come over and it's her. They are so confused.
Well, yeah, you got to be careful with that. You got to be careful with that nowadays. All right, so we're talking about parents a little bit. And the book, it literally sounds like he goes weeks, if not months, without ever letting his parents, like,
3 months.
but is that like he doesn't call?
Right.
He doesn't write nothing.
Oh yeah, because at the end,
I mean, that might be the case with me if I didn't have a wife.
Dude, I don't. That was
well, not if
wild
you're going to
me.
Vietnam and you didn't tell him what you were doing. Like you probably would make the effort
He
because
called him.
He'd call eventually after 3 months, and
No,
so
he called him on the phone.
oh,
Oh, on the
he called him on his phone. So
He called him on the phone and said that he was going to go.
right,
Yes.
right.
He's on the way. But that's what I'm saying. Like he then nothing.
Yeah.
How do you, I
He didn't tell him he was going
Dude,
to Vietnam.
I told you guys my
he
college.
didn't. He didn't say he was going to Vietnam.
Right, he definitely
said
didn't
he
say
was
what he was
going
doing.
on a ship
Right.
and that he had to leave
Man,
right
I
away.
told
he
told
did
you
not
guys,
say Vietnam.
When I went to college, I can probably count on one hand the amount of times I called my parents over
Same.
a 4-year period.
Dude, it was not a lot. For
And
me.
I will tell you, like at the time, I thought that was pretty cool. When I got out and I started having kids, like I felt very bad about that. Like I can't imagine my
I think
kids.
I think it's a boy thing though, because I mean, and it's
Yeah.
a different situation, but same. Like I could go months. Riley doesn't go a day without talking to one of
Yeah.
your guys' parents. So I think
Yeah.
I think it's more of a boy thing, probably, right?
I mean, my wife talks to my parents more than I do.
Dude, I was
There's no doubt,
recounting.
no doubt.
I
in my
feel
mind.
so bad for my wife.
Was it Karate Kid? Was it the Karate Kid episode where Reed asked you if you didn't have to wear a helmet?
Yes.
That made me. I was rolling.
Yeah.
He goes, why? Because 13-year-olds are dumb.
yeah.
That's rude. 10 minutes later, can't even ride his bike.
Well, I remember having a conversation with a woman at church. So there was a senior that I was mentoring, and we were talking about this senior, and he was about ready to leave for college, and she looks at me and she's like, "It's her oldest, and he's definitely a go-getter," and she goes, "Well, you called your mom and talked to her a lot when you left for college, right?" And I just looked at her and I go, no. She was like, "But you came home a lot, right?" And I was like, "Not that either."
Yeah.
She's like, "Don't tell me this, Marcus, please."
And when
Dude,
I
it's
did
so
come
funny,
home,
too.
I drove to South Bend to work.
Yeah,
So
man.
exactly. On ice, by the way.
Dude, Kelsey and I have been doing this.
At J program.
And we're up at the lake most weekends, and we get a lot of time that is different because when we're at home, like we put the kids down at a different time. Like it's just weird. When we're
Yeah.
at the lake, we connect better.
Yep.
And we were talking about college. We brought up the question. Like one question was, if you could experience one single day that you were in college, you can't change anything. It's basically a trip down nostalgia lane. You have to experience the day from start to finish.
I
What
know
day
exactly
would that be?
what it would be.
And then you go to high school and then elementary. It was so fun. But one thing that came up was like why she chose Sanford in the South, which is basically Birmingham, and why I chose Olivet, which is near Chicago, is like I wanted a close distance, 3 hours or less from home, that was close to a big city like Chicago, and I wanted it to be a private Christian school. Those were my parameters. And I found that. And looking back, I don't know why I cared about that. I wish I would have gone south. Like I truly do.
My big thing was
Yeah.
I just wanted cornfields and a bunch of dudes.
Nailed it. Nailed it. So you went to DePaul, huh?
They don't have dudes there
DePaul's a great school, Marcus, right?
for girls. Yeah.
See that
Thank you
alley-oop?
for setting me
That
up.
was- no
I
problem.
appreciate
was
that.
Good. I had to let. Oh no, he doesn't go to. We were talking about some girl we're recruiting.
You have
that
to
goes
be so much. You have to be so much better at recruiting Wabash guys because of your just deep knowledge.
I mean, they literally might think I went there. No, I
Yeah.
never tell them I did.
Yeah.
We did. I mean, we had a
But
lot of kids that did though.
Oh my gosh, so
Yeah.
many. The amount of clout. Yeah.
How big
Well,
is that
you
school?
just
How
know.
many kids are in that school?
850.
Oh my gosh, it's less than 1,000.
Yeah.
I can say things.
900 maybe.
I can say 3 or 4 things, phrases, events
And
that
they
immediate-
think that you're an insider for
that
sure.
I am
How
an
ma-
insider.
how
I just didn't go there.
How many people do they turn away?
Not a ton.
So it's just, but so like if they had 2,000 people that apply, would they grow it that big, or is it like the infrastructure has
No,
to be
they
less
wouldn't
than
go that
1,000?
big. They would get bigger probably, and they do turn away people, but it's just what you're doing is you're trying to recruit 18-year-olds to go to Crawfordsville, Indiana, to an all-male college that's going to be very difficult academically.
Why did you choose to go there? Besides the cornfields and dudes,
They recruited me. They recruited me very heavily.
for tennis.
No, because
academia?
of grades. Yeah, I was number 4 in my class.
4 out of 37 is super solid. dude.
104. 104. I had an 11.2 GPA. Okay, that's more than an A, by the way, with no weighted grades. Anyway, and they gave me more money than anybody else did. They gave me more money. And then I went on campus and I just fell in love.
I was gonna say if they can get somebody to commit to a visit,
That's right. Then you
gotta,
know.
yeah, you
know
gotta.
if you're a fit
can
or not.
feel it pretty quick.
Yeah.
I will say this: I have
Oh, you can-
I have drank more out of the bell than almost every student who's worked for me in a few years. Last year, because
It's been
they
bad.
haven't won
But
much.
That's changing though.
yeah. Well, I mean,
Jake
Jake
Gilbert,
Gilbert, baby. Jake Gilbert bringing the
Oh,
W.
we should
home.
do a podcast episode from Mona and Bell this year.
Oh,
I can make it happen.
What movie would we do?
Rudy.
Rudy.
I'm in. Let's trick them all into
no,
joining.
if we're gonna do a podcast on site, we are going to South Bend. I'm not gonna go to
Oh, that's
Crawfordsville
true. We could
for
do
Rudy.
that too. It'd be we could do that too.
We totally have ties to South Bend.
Yeah, we
if
can
we're
make-
gonna go to Sundance, we can get on Notre Dame's campus.
Oh, we can get on Notre Dame's campus.
Yeah.
I am extremely confident.
If they let Rudy Ruger on there, they'll let anybody.
Tell me about it.
They'll let
If they
anybody.
let Sean Astin in
They
there.
might not let us on campus if we tell them we're doing.
Yeah, definitely
Rudy.
don't tell him about Rudy.
So before we move to quotes, if we got any more, what made us think? One last
Whoa,
one for me.
We've done like none of
Yeah,
them.
I've got 17,000
Okay, well
notes.
then keep them coming.
The chopper story is crazy. So he gets on this chopper and he farts, right?
Yes, and
and
he feels.
And he doesn't realize how much the wind is blowing around in there, and so it's making everybody basically sick. And they turn the chopper off,
and they're
and
free
it
falling.
just starts falling.
Yeah.
And they're getting angry with him and yelling
And
at
the
him.
pilot says, "Okay, man, we're gonna have to jump."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he's freaking out, and they're like, we're just screwing with you. And they turn it back on again and go.
Can you imagine?
Dude, this is why 20-year-olds shouldn't be in charge of that kind of equipment. I mean,
Oh my gosh.
unbelievable. Like,
True.
how many millions of dollars is this chopper? And you're just screwing around
Dude,
over it?
True.
I
Like,
saw a video of
I
somebody
mean, that's pretty fun.
Yeah.
where literally where they look is how they shoot in a freaking chopper now. This dude, I don't know what the name
yeah,
of it is.
yeah.
It's tracking his eyes, and where he looks is identifying targets.
Wow.
It's amazing.
That's
Yeah.
outstanding.
So to your point, yeah, probably costs a little bit of money, a little bit of cash.
I put this one down to page 78. He says, that's 70.
Wherever he looks, it's like when Cyclops takes off his little things and just starts laser beaming the whole wall everywhere he looks.
That's
So-
X-Men.
Yeah. This is I
I don't know.
Not in the X-Men?
Never.
this is when he
However,
I bet you'd be more into X-Men than you are
Holly
Marvel.
Berry
I
was
agree.
X-Men, right?
Yeah.
Holly Berry and Greatest Showman.
Yeah, Hugh
Hugh
Jackman.
Hugh Hefner.
Hugh
Hugh
Hefner.
Hefner.
Huge Ackman.
Hugh
Huge
Jackman?
Ackman.
Was he a seaman? And
No, that was Hugh Hefner.
Isn't Scarlett Johansson doing something? Or did she already do something?
That was Hugh
No,
Hefner
but
too.
your girl Jennifer Lawrence.
She did X-Men?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm in.
Many
I'm in.
movies.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
First-
and basically naked.
No, she's oh yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's what it seems like. But she's
That's
blue.
Notice Brett had zero reaction. Did not say anything. Did not.
Yeah.
There's nothing.
What are you getting your brother to stumble over there, Mangus?
Sorry.
Read
Anyway,
page 72.
I've often thought of that road. If I'd taken it and lived, I could have spent the next 5 years as a prisoner of war or worse. When I saw the POWs coming off the planes after the close of hostilities in 1973, I was grateful how lucky I'd been that night. He's telling a story of he was dumb at night and went down this road that was
he's desperate to
controlled
make
by
the
Viet Cong.
ship. There was a ship leaving. If he doesn't get on the ship, he knows he's stuck.
Yeah.
And he works so hard. He sees a little Vietnamese child
Who starts screaming.
His mother grabs him.
Yeah.
And then who does he run into in I'm assuming it's a Jeep, an army Jeep. His friend.
Yeah.
Literally is driving down this road. It's nuts. It's absolutely nuts.
It is crazy. But it just, the idea that he could have been a prisoner of war or killed or whatever so many times just to go over there and take these guys some beer, like, my goodness. That's crazy.
It makes me also realize he did not. This is bang, bang, bang from the moment he gets brought up in the bar to when he gets over there.
Well, he gets over there 2 months later on a ship.
There was no plus minus list created before this trip. There was no best case, worst case scenario.
I mean, that's kind of your 20s, though.
Yeah,
a little bit.
100%.
You know, you just go do some stupid stuff,
Right.
especially you're not married or no kids or whatever. Go ahead.
I had this. So the dirtier he gets, the less lucky he is. In the beginning, he is totally talking his way into everything. As he gets dirtier and dirtier,
It's a good point.
It's working less.
It's harder to act as if.
Less and less.
Yeah.
Second thought is, man, I've known this, but this really made me, hearing him experience this tension. The tension between knowing war is a patriotic duty, but also hating war in general. I thought he described it really, really well of where he ended up after that.
Yeah, I wrote down you mean at the very end?
Yes.
Yeah, I wrote down, I guess I can read it.
How he's well adjusted at the end of the whole thing. It is interesting how long it took him to write this book. I mean, this happened.
When he said he told the guy the story on the plane, I thought he was going to end that with, and that's when I realized I should write the book. Because it sounds like he told the book without writing it to the guy.
I don't know how it transpired. I mean, if we looked it up, there's probably a place of the story, but I'd have to think he tells these stories for the next 30 years, and finally someone's like, dude, I'll pay for the author to write the book. I'll pay for the ghostwriter.
Or he somebody on this podcast that's in charge of fun facts.
Or he tried to write it for years and then just never created the time to be able to do it.
Here's what he says. Gradually, I began to see the protesters, however disrespectfully, were at least trying to stop this madness. They weren't acknowledging that so many young men were doing what they truly believed was their duty to their country, their family, their neighborhood. They weren't acknowledging that the soldiers were patriots, that they were heroes. We, in turn, didn't see at the time that the protesters loved our country too. What they didn't like was our leadership. They were trying to stop more boys from being killed for somebody else's legacy. After what I'd witnessed on my journey, I could definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty nuanced.
Yeah.
That's a pretty nuanced view, and you know, we live in a world, and that world was similar, where it's just like very left or right. You know, like lots of tension. You have to pick a side. There's lots of tribalism. I really like that he says, hey, that person that's over there protesting, yes, it's disrespectful. Yes, they're not honoring these different things, but they also are doing it because they love this country.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't have the right to do it without, you know, like we have to see that in each other and make one another better.
Yeah, but he also says at the end, he goes, it didn't make sense to me that we're the only... I don't think he's necessarily saying that is his entire take, because he also says we're the only country that would allow someone to protest his own troops holding up the flag of the country that we're trying.
That's going to bother him forever. That they were that the troops, all they thought was, wow, my country hates me.
Yeah.
And they didn't even have a choice,
Right.
many of them. And
Yeah.
they were treated like crap when they got home and called baby killers and everything else. And
Yeah.
that's terrible.
He goes, he says, what other country would allow its own citizens to protest a war, raise a flag in which our men are dying from? And we're seeing it all over again, like right now, actually. But his quote right before that is, it wasn't as if the U.S. forgot them. They never knew enough about them to remember them in the first place. So these 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds are going over there. They haven't lived any life. I mean, you're talking about the life expectancy was in the 40s at one point. So you're halfway through your life, and most of them are losing it before they even get home for a war that they didn't want to go to in the first place, but they're serving their country. And now these protesters are losing sight of the support, who they're supposed to be supporting.
Yeah, they were flying.
So to say that
Vietnamese
they love their
flags,
country, yeah,
you know,
I mean,
yeah, it's really, really tough. But they were doing it, I think, in part because they love their country, you know. And I think that that's a fair, you know, that's something to keep in mind often. Is like,
do you think that still applies today with protesters today?
In some cases, like whether you're wrong or right, what's the motivation behind it, right? Sometimes I think people do it because they're jumping on fads, you know, like they're jumping to be a part of a movement or whatever. And people often jump too quickly, especially in this social media era. Mm-hmm. And it was probably similar then. However, you know, they're doing it out of a place of, hey, I love this country. I want to see this country be better. Here's what I think is better. Now, whether they're wrong or right, whether what they're doing is wrong or right, is their motivation that they want the country to be better? Probably.
Yeah.
And I think that's what he's getting at, and that's a really good place to start if you're just having a one-on-one conversation with somebody who you disagree vehemently with. Mm-hmm. Is like, hey, like, do we like this country? You know? And maybe they just say, no, I hate this country. And it's like, well, what are we going to go
from there?
You know,
and I think that's
sadly,
where today, we're at.
Today, that's where we're at.
Yeah.
People are literally, a lot of times, kids convinced that this is a horrible country. And yeah, it's, yeah. I think, I don't know if that's where it was then, but I think it's definitely where we're at now.
No, I think at least on the depictions of what people are saying, even the most upset people weren't saying we hate this country.
Correct. Yeah.
Last thing I'll say, I wrote down a few more, but the last thing I'll say is, so he uses the ham radio to call San Francisco, and then the guy on the other end in San Francisco does a collect call to his parents 3 months later. His parents by this time have clearly found out that he went to Vietnam to do this. Mm-hmm. Nobody's heard anything from him. Can you imagine being a parent and getting that call 3 months later?
Dude,
like,
he acted like his mom was like, oh, okay, you're safe.
No, he didn't.
I had written down.
No, he didn't. His dad reamed him.
His dad reamed him.
His dad reamed him.
He's
for
like, do
not
you know what
calling.
you've done to your mother?
And that was his way of coping with his. That was his duty. And then his mom, instead of doing that, welcomed him and just wanted to make sure he was safe. But you could tell she was suffering.
Got it.
Yeah.
And then when he gets back, it's insane to me that when he gets back, the first place he goes and visits is the bar.
Right.
Like,
right.
he goes and visits the bar. Everybody's cheering him on. He's like, oh, it was all worth it, blah, 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 blah. Then he goes home at like 3 or 4 in the morning and wakes up his parents drunk, you know? I mean, that's just insane to me.
You know, as you said the word and drunk, I'm like, 24, yeah.
Oh, he was for sure drunk.
Yeah, but I'm like, yes, I think that's not far off.
When he's 26, 27 or whatever.
I'm just saying when I get it.
I got another thing about what made you think. At the end of chapter 1, he says it was kind of just a flippant thing to say, and then I'll give him a beer. Mm-hmm. And that's how it all started.
Yeah.
It reminds me of Parks Place Pub. I mean, that sometimes just saying something out in the air.
Yeah.
And then it starts to make sense. Like Matt and I were having lunch. The Bricks Pizzeria had gone under, came back, went under again, and sat there for like months. And as we were passing, I just go, hey, maybe we should put something in there like a sports bar. And that was it. And then we just walked back. And then
Start Google searching some stuff.
You just stopped at Citizen State Bake on the way on the way back to the office.
Said, hey, if we decided to get a loan, would you give us $1 million? Do you know how to run a restaurant? Nope. Do you know anything about food? Nope.
And then Dan was like, sure, no problem.
Yep.
Sometimes it's meant to be. Quotes. Who's got some quotes?
I got some quotes. I've used a lot of them already. So, all right. Good kids being patriots, doing what their country asks. And I want the truth told for them. The people running this war.
Yeah.
They're not patriots.
He goes to great lengths to tell the stories of the people that he knew. And it's short. They're short. It's just like he was a dad, he had just been married. He was a young father and he died too early. Or I can't believe that he was over there. Or once he meets them, he always says, and I prayed that he would make it all the way home. Mm-hmm. You know, and I just loved that. Yeah,
at one point in chapter, I'm trying to remember what chapter it was, is later in the book when he's talking about Bobby. Oh, yeah, chapter 30. Bobby, he thought Bobby was dead. Mm-hmm. And Bobby, they find him the next day, and Bobby was so pissed at him.
Yeah.
And he was so glad. Like, he was like, I was so glad that Bobby was pissed at me because it meant Bobby was alive.
I loved that part.
Yeah,
I loved that.
He was
part.
like, I love it. I just love that my friends are mad at me because it means they're alive, and I'll take them being mad at me any day.
Yeah, whether he's talking about the Union or his friends from home or whatever, this guy loves people, and like there was a real sense of brotherhood. I did write down at one point in time. Have you guys seen Ozark?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like he's Buddy, like the old man Buddy. Right, they buy his house and he's living in their basement.
Yep.
Who was part of the Union and had fought in NAM and everything else, and it's like, oh man, Chicky just became Buddy at some point in time in his life. Here's a quote that I wrote down. And this goes right with what you're saying. These were the kinds of kids we were losing. They were so young, 18 and 19, early 20s. The Marines, which I joined at 17, considered me old at 26. They cited my age as the reason for rejecting me when I tried to re-up in 1967.
Yep.
You know? I mean...
The Marines have...
Dude, that is just young kids.
The Marines have that rap, period, for, like, strictness of... like recently I remember when Taylor Bussick was going through it, there was a bunch of memes going around about the body composition that they wanted, and like if you were a bodybuilder you were considered obese in the metrics of being a Marine. Yeah. And so they didn't accept you. Like that's been going on a long time. Chick Donohue.
Few and the proud.
Don't be dumb, Arthur. This ain't no war no more. It's mass murder. Coates. That's what war is, Chick. It's one giant crime scene.
Yeah. What's interesting is a lot of the quotes that I wrote down. So the movie only kind of follows the story of the book. Like it takes a lot of different liberties, and I don't know how or why. But what's interesting is some of the most impactful quotes, like that one, make it into the movie. Mm-hmm. And it's just interesting that many of the ones that I wrote down are ones that they make sure that they say.
For sure. But I don't think that the book, when he's writing, he's not writing from we got to take down the leaders and really tell the story of how bad the leaders did. It was more so just telling the stories of the guys, like you said. The movie was a little bit more, and then at the end of the book, when he says, "Listen, this is what I think," he talks more about like his thoughts on the war.
Yeah.
But during the book, it was really about loving on these guys.
Correct.
How can I tell their story? How can I get them home? How can I make sure? And anytime he'd meet one of his friends out in the field, they're like, are the stories that he tells about back home real? And they'd always recount them and be like, no way.
The movie's more political than the book is.
Yeah.
The movie's got something to say, you know. They have decent beer there now, but during the Vietnam War, one bottle might smell like vinegar, another like formaldehyde, another like the Harlem River, and then you'd get a good one. That's why you had to drink 3 or 4.
Yeah.
In the meantime, don't get killed. I wouldn't want to do all that paperwork.
Oh, yeah, I like that one. That was literally that whole section. The way he ended every chapter was very captivating. It wasn't necessary. It wasn't a cliffhanger.
They did a good job with that.
It was a nice little bookend with like a funny quote every single time. I thought.
Yeah, the chapters in this book are really well done. Like they're their
short,
own story. Yeah, well titled as well.
When I die, I'm going to heaven because I've already been to Vietnam.
I thought this was funny.
They wrote that on helmets.
Mm-hmm. Admittedly, there had been occasions where I had been brought back to the ship courtesy of the police escort, like the time in Durban, South Africa, when I was cuffed and arrested by 6 cops for drinking in a coloreds-only club. The dancing in that place was a lot more fun than in Lily White's all-night apartheid hideaway. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
More quotes?
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
I'm out of quotes.
In Inwood Hill Park, we would sit on the steps and drink beer and sing songs and tell stories and laugh, reaching that magical point of feeling good together amongst friends that you can't alone. And, I think there's those moments when you're just kind of hanging out and you kind of reach that point and it's just like, man, this is the life. Like, this is great. I'm here with my friends. Later on, he has something that says this isn't exactly the same because it's not about friends, but it has drinking involved. Mm-hmm. And a lot of this book is him drinking in bars and stuff. But he says one thing. He says bars democratize all people. Mm-hmm. Is another one of his quotes. And I think that like other places can do that too, like churches or whatever. But bars are really good at that. Like you could be sitting next to someone like who
living a different life
has there's it's a completely different world for them, but you're both sitting there and you're both drinking that Miller Lite or whatever, and you're rooting on the Pacers. Like sports does that. Like they bring people together, they democratize all people. And I think that's pretty beautiful.
Podcasts do that.
Yeah, everybody listens.
I think the cool thing about the bar, like even with sports, where you're sitting at the event creates a levels to it. Where at a bar, it's like anyone can go sit up at an open spot at the bar. So I think that's part of what makes that unique.
Yeah, this one reminded me of somebody in the room. I went into the Marines a private, and 4 years later I came out a private. But I was a 4-star general when it came to slinging BS.
Who's that remind you of?
I don't know.
Yeah, I wrote that one down too.
You didn't say it.
Yeah. Chapter 9.
Oh yeah.
So I also wrote this down in chapter 9. I stopped my mower to write this down. This thought. This story, especially early on, is being told the way Wes Anderson does movies. This movie would have been better if it was directed by Wes Anderson. You know what I'm talking about?
What did he direct?
Grand Budapest Hotel, The French Dispatch.
Yep.
Those really like they will tell a story and then they'll stop and like and by the way, in 1955, this is what was actually happening, and they'll do this little like silent movie kind of thing.
I feel like in those movies too, there's always a wide angle shot where characters will run out of the frame and then run back into the frame for some reason. Yeah.
I mean, that's a Wes Anderson trick, but he's got a lot of really good movies coming out. I really like his style. I also feel like it was kind of like Hugo Stiglitz. Down I love that movie.
So good.
I love Grand Budapest Hotel.
That's not what we're talking about.
I know, but he brought it up. It is Wes Anderson.
Stiglitz.
Are we going to do that movie?
I watched that on a plane. There's only one uncomfortable part with the old lady. It's fun.
It is increasing. This is Cronkite. It is increasingly clear to this reporter that the only rational way out then will be to negotiate not as victors, but as honorable people who lived up to their pledge to defend democracy and did the best they could. Then the presidential aide, Bill Moyers, was with Lyndon Johnson as he watched Cronkite's editorial. LBJ lamented to him, "If I've lost Cronkite, I've lost Middle America." A month later, the president would announce that he would not seek re-election in the fall.
Wow.
Like that is freaking power.
Yeah.
Um,
There's gonna be a lot of overlap between this and our next episode with Hamilton, because there's a they were gonna take Hamilton off the $10 bill, and because of the movie's popularity, they kept him on.
Oh wow.
Like they were like literally considering that. So like that's the power of popularity, the power of like the people and what, whatever the narrative is at the time. It's interesting. We got some hidden gems. We gonna do that?
Would the $10 bill have been around when Hamilton was still alive?
no.
How cool would that have been? Though?
Do you know how much $10 was? Dude, hidden gems. The ship traveled 15 miles per hour. Can you imagine seeing nothing for that long and just going 15 miles an hour? I would lose my mind. I would not be able to do that. I just couldn't.
Say it again. I wasn't listening.
The ship only went 15 miles an hour.
Mm.
He goes from New York
Yeah.
down through the Panama Canal and over to over to Vietnam. That's just if 15 miles an hour is the max speed.
Were either of you on the trip that we went through the Panama Canal?
No.
I was not. I was that was right after I left.
Got it.
And I got the printout.
Tell us, world traveler.
Pretty cool.
Really cool.
You literally, I mean, if because I think he describes it, you get in the canal and you're in a queue, you can literally get off and
Yeah.
you got time.
Yeah.
Because then even it takes time for the thing to be able to go. So, yeah. Not that cool.
But I wrote another guy who loves Japan as a hidden gem. Like he was in love with Japan, right?
A lot of people love Japan. I would love to go to Japan.
Chickie loved Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We had Shoe Dog.
Did he did Phil Knight love Japan?
Oh, he loved Japan.
He definitely had parts of it he really enjoyed.
He took his wife back and loved that trip.
No, he loved Japan. He was romantic about Japan.
If anything, his wife may have
climbing
ruined
up
Japan
Mount
for him.
Fuji and all this stuff.
Just a panic attack on the bathroom floor of an airport.
I remember.
Dude loved it. Who was the other one? I felt like there was one more. Oh, and then we just did Karate Kid with Japan.
We got to do The Last Samurai.
Hidden gems.
Also Japan.
Any more?
Page 91. We get a Casablanca reference.
One of the greatest movies of all time.
He says it was like Casablanca.
Yeah.
You know? Ooh, I thought this one was good. Page 1. I got to read this one. Page 110.
While you're doing that, chapter 10 talks about taking a sip of beer, and he goes, and maybe they saw, when they took the sip of beer, maybe they saw a girlfriend or a beach at home. And it just reminds me of like how smells and tastes take you back to anything. Like literally, I'll have a Corona.
100%.
It takes me back to Mexico.
Every single time.
Just takes me right there to the beach in Mexico.
Oh,
yeah.
Dude, I can watch a Corona commercial.
And you're in the beach in Mexico?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
can
know.
like smell.
If I taste Red Stripe, it takes me to a cruise.
I know exactly what you mean. I could smell tequila, and I am 15, hugging the Brewers family, guest bedroom toilet.
Hey, I made you some good tequila drinks.
You got me back into it. You did.
Yeah.
You did a very good job.
Okay, I thought this was really neat because it was something I learned. They are attacked in the Tet offensive, right? And people are yelling, "Buku VC,
Buku bucks.
Buku VC," and I had no idea that Buku bucks was like a French word.
Yeah.
I never would have spelled it right.
Oh, I thought it was just like a play on like, that sounds like a boom, bam, some like one of those words we would say.
Like
bang,
like onomatopoeia.
Yes.
Yeah, money has a sound.
Mesopotamia.
Yeah. Mesopotamia. Yeah. Onomatopoeia. Mesopotamia.
Buku bucks.
Buku bucks. Yeah. And then I also wrote Manhattan. He has those Manhattans, and I feel like we've probably had more Manhattans than
The
any
last
other
one we had
drink.
was really good.
On this,
You enjoy
on this
making
podcast.
Manhattans. When you can make something great and it takes a good feel, it's fun to
Yeah.
get it right.
Yeah.
Chapter 19 needed a passport to get out of Vietnam,
Yeah, this is
but
good.
not into it.
Yeah.
Weird. Makes sense,
Yeah.
but weird. Yeah.
they
Vietnamese
were taking
government
advantage.
definitely took advantage of that situation,
For
right?
sure.
Have you guys had any passport issues?
Yeah, we've
Well,
talked about it.
The safe.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
that really changed my view of the safe. That's
I'm
got to be
glad-
a quote.
I'm glad that we could take one for the team.
That's a great quote.
Don't 3-putt and don't use
Don't 3-putt,
the
it's
hotel
terrible.
and don't use the hotel safe.
Just don't.
You must not have put it in the safe. Was it you must not have, or you
we
must
for sure put it in the
For
safe.
sure. Let's.
I am
How do we-
very,
Yeah,
The
very
safe is just
sure.
where you put all the things they're gonna take.
How can we get them to put all of their really nice stuff
in the
in
same
a place for us?
How about they move the bars to the rooftop because of all the bar bombings?
Yeah.
So they had to like do it in a big open place. They had to
Oh.
literally change where they were like serving their food and beverage.
Dude, one of my clients in Columbus has
Another-
a sick rooftop bar.
Yeah.
I'm a big
It's
fan of
awesome.
rooftop bars. Everything could suck, and I will go hang out on the rooftop
Oh,
bar.
totally.
Oh,
Best
I love
rooftop
the
bar,
rooftop bars.
Greece, overlooking the
Oh, I
Acropolis.
bet. That was
It
awesome.
was so cool. Yeah, a
Yeah.
lot of rooftop bars in Greece.
Have you been to the First Internet Building one?
I have not.
It's really, really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, until they change the color of the pipes behind the sign
It's
to
so
a
bad.
different color than the same color as the logo on the front, I
First
will not
Internet
visit.
Bank.
I will not. You
It is
it's so
It is an
dumb.
eyesore.
Beautiful building.
It's
though.
an easy fix. What are we doing? You're a bank. Just take the money and paint it.
You want me
It is
to?
nice inside.
Should we text Becker right now?
Sure.
We could text him.
Becker, if nobody said anything.
You know what the problem is?
No.
He's a DePaul grad.
Dude, black is a DePaul color. They're black and gold, right?
Yeah.
They're easy.
Last thing I had for
was just saying,
Hidden
not
Gems
that
is
smart.
how he got away with it. So the way he got he basically hitchhiked everywhere he went. He wasn't supposed to be a civilian in a war zone, but he got away with it pretty much everywhere
Because they thought he was the CIA.
By the way, you ruin everything that I say. Like literally, you tell the punchline before I say anything.
Yeah, that's part of my shtick.
No, stop. So the two ways he
I'm
got away
just
with
good
it
at making you funnier.
is it no, it kills the momentum of what I'm saying. The CIA thing, like basically he was wearing clothes that only CIA would wear, so they
I'm
either
gonna be
thought it was
laughing
CIA.
at myself in the episode when I'm
The
driving.
second reason was because he would make them laugh. He would like basically tell them the story, and they're like, "That's unbelievable. All right, let's do it." I thought that was pretty fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
Like make people laugh, you can get away with a lot of things.
He got very lucky. Didn't wear that outfit thinking I'm going to look like.
Can you imagine wearing an outfit and going through all of that without showering? Like the guy that drops him off and is like, "Hey, do me a favor when you get back there, take a bath."
Yeah.
Gosh, I would smell so bad.
Mm-hmm.
What is Russell Crowe's role in this movie is what, Rem? What is he? Say it again?
Journalism.
Journalism, got it.
He's the Australian journalist,
Australian journalist.
at the Caravel.
Dude, I really would
I keep every time I was reading it. So I'm reading Aragon to the kids, and it's got Carvajal, and this was Caravel, and that was very difficult.
I want
for
to see
me.
pictures of that
He does a really good
That-
job in this.
bar.
Russell Crowe.
He's an incredible
Russell
actor.
Crowe's later work is underrated. Nice Guys, a lot of films that were just like,
Nice Guys is funny.
yeah. I mean, he's got a lot of
Gosling.
really
That's
nice
what Gosling.
little films. Yeah,
Gosling is
you
so
pair
funny.
two all stars together. It's impossible to make a bad movie. Like it's going to be somewhat entertaining.
I think Russell Crowe at this point is just like, well, is it a movie that I feel like doing? Okay, I'll leave Australia to do that.
Yeah,
You know. Do you guys watch Gladiator 2 yet?
we started. It
Oh,
was
man.
terrible. We turned it off.
Yeah, it's not that good.
It's trash.
Thank you. Don't have to watch that one.
I mean, it's worth a watch.
Rating time. I am a 7.7, but a very enjoyable, fun 7.7. Second half was not as in. First half I loved. Second half hurt
Yeah.
it for me.
I'm a 7.3. Same thing. Same. I'm glad I read it. Don't have to read it again.
Yep.
Yeah, 7.2. I probably won't read it again, but I learned a lot about Vietnam. I don't get too in, like, he definitely goes into the weeds about all the battle stuff, and I mean, it's fine. It's not negative. I get a little bored.
Yep.
So it was good.
I
Not
could have
great.
listened to the second half on 2X probably.
Good, not great. I don't
Yeah.
know how you guys listen to anything except one.
There was one book I listened to on 2X for almost all of it. I can't remember
Was
what
it
it was.
How to
book?
Lead.
Yeah, it's my book.
I just was trying to get that percentage of average listenership. 100%. What we got coming next? Hamilton. Next, our 4th of July release.
Extravaganza.
Which I think we'll release on the 3rd. No. Yeah, we'll release on the 3rd. And then Jaws. We got Shark Week coming up as well. Any parting shots?
Dun it. Dun it. It's the only song I knew how to play on the piano for the longest time.
Wait a second. I went into the Notre Dame. Never mind. We'll see you next time.